Ladies, gentlemen, internet trolls too, you guys kind of suck sometimes, but we'll include you today as well. Welcome to episode 6 of Fan Fridays, the show where I give outsiders an inside look into the mind of an MLB All-Star. Have you ever wondered what got me into baseball in the first place? Stay tuned, I got answers for you. All right, questions from my YouTube peeps. First, question number 1. What are some of your favorite ballparks to pitch in? Well, I love PNC. It's beautiful. I don't know if I pitch well. My ballparks are not anywhat related to if I pitch well there or not. I don't know. I don't know where I pitch well or where I don't. I like pretty ballparks, and I like good facilities. So sometimes a ballpark might not be pretty, but it has good facilities. Sometimes a ballpark might be pretty. Even though it doesn't have great facilities for players, it's still one of my favorites. So PNC is one of my favorites because it's absolutely beautiful. And Safeco, I know it's not called Safeco anymore. I don't care what it's called. It'll always be Safeco to me. Safeco is one of those as well. Let's see here. What else? Fenway is fun. I like playing in Fenway because of the rituals and the singing, and the crowd's always super into it, and the nostalgia of it. It's different there. The game is different, but I do like it. I'd stick with those 3 for right now. I think those are my favorite ones around. Oh, the Braves Stadium, the new Braves Stadium is awesome. If you haven't been there, definitely check it out. I went there for the first time this past year. Great stadium, had a blast playing there. Just a really cool environment. And I grew up a Braves fan too, so seeing kind of the evolution of what I used to watch on TBS was really cool. Question number 2, as a young kid, how did I handle being different? For example, my warm-up routine, how I get loose, and so on. I'm sure you faced a lot of criticism, good and bad. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. There are still people, to this day, like 14 years later, or 15, I don't even know what it is, half my life ago I started high school. And there are still people in my high school region, in my conference, that outlaw anything that I do because they just hate it that much. Like, there are high school programs that do not let kids do the shoulder tube that I do because it's a Trevor Bauer thing. So that's how bad it got. I don't understand people sometimes. Like, it just blows my mind. But yes, let's get back to the question. I got to focus on this. I was ostracized for a lot of the different things I do. I got made fun of by teammates, by coaches, by casual passerbys in the park. I used to go up to the park near my house at night, Valencia Glen Park, at 7 o'clock at night after I'd gone through high school practice and done all my homework, and I would go and get extra training in. I'd be throwing weighted balls, I'd be doing velo training, I'd be doing some sort of conditioning or long toss or whatever the case is. And people were making fun of me nonstop. People that I knew from school would ride their bikes up, and I'd be sitting there throwing, and they'd just stop and like point at me and laugh and like make fun of me nonstop while I was getting my work in. This is back before we had like really easy like AirPods that you could put in or wireless headphones, and so I had like these wired headphones, and I think it was even before iPods. I could be wrong. I don't know. I remember I had like a brick Boost mobile phone for a while in high school. So it's amazing how technology's evolved. But I'm getting distracted again. Yeah, there's a tennis coach who gave lessons at the local tennis courts for the Parks and Rec. And there was no signs that said I couldn't throw against the fence, and people would kick soccer balls against the fence, and people would yell and play music all the time. But the noise of like a little baseball hitting the fence, like little rattle of chain link every now and then just drove him crazy for whatever reason. So he would stop his tennis classes, run out of the tennis court, grab my bucket of balls and run off with them. So then his clients or students or whatever you would call them were just standing on the tennis court like, where'd our instructor go? And he's stealing my bucket of balls and running off to some other part of the park and trying to throw them over here or get me kicked out of the park or whatever. I was threatened to be kicked off my high school team like 7 different times or something. Half the time was because I was up at the park doing extra practice and doing extra stuff trying to get better, and my high school coach just didn't like it. So Yeah. At one point, like how did I handle it? Because I'm getting super long-winded. I'm just going to rant on this all night if I don't cut myself off here. But how I handled it, there was one night, it used to bother me. That's the first thing that I have to say. It used to really bother me. I wondered at night, like, what is wrong with me? Like, why? I don't understand. I think I'm a good person. I think I'm good in school. I treat people well. I don't bother people. Like, why do I get treated this way? And then one night, actually one morning, I'd gotten up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the YMCA to do my pool workout, and I came home and I showered, I was getting ready to go to school, and I looked in the mirror and I remember thinking, I was like, I like what I see. I think I'm a good student, I treat people well, I'm successful, whatever the case is, I like who I am, and so I'm just gonna continue doing me. And yeah, that's when I became okay with it. And then after that, it didn't bother me. Because I knew I was going somewhere, I knew what I wanted to do with my life, and I just did that. So, yeah, it's a tough question because until kids can get to that point, until they have that self-confidence and that moment for themselves where they become okay with themselves, it's kind of rough growing up. There's a lot of bullying, and social media has made it so much worse nowadays because kids have access to you nonstop. When I was growing up, there was no social media, so I would go home and it was a friendly environment, you know. Now kids go home and they're on social media, and the kids that were bullying them at school bully them online, and then they bully them the next day at school, and then there's no break from it. So something that, yeah, there needs to be more discussion on how that's going to be handled and solved. But sorry for the long-winded answer. YouTube question number 3, what summer ball leagues did you play in while at UCLA, and do you have any stories about summer ball? I didn't actually play any summer ball leagues while I was at UCLA. I played for Team USA after my freshman year. And mind you, I graduated high school half a year early to get away from all the bad high school stuff that I just talked about. So I graduated high school early, and I actually enrolled at UCLA in January of 2009. So what would have been my senior year of high school turned into my freshman year at UCLA. So after that season, I had thrown 90 innings or something like that. I threw quite a bit that year. Started off as a closer and ended up starting on Saturdays, I think, by the end of the year. But yeah, so I threw quite a bit, and I went and I played Team USA in the summer. And then after my sophomore year, I just chose to train. I threw 135 innings my sophomore year. We played all the way to the final final series in Omaha to close down Rosenblatt. We lost to Whit Merrifield and Jackie Bradley and Michael Roth of South Carolina. But yeah, I didn't play summer ball at all. I just trained and I worked on skill development. I needed to throw my curveball harder. I needed to throw my fastball harder. I needed to be in better shape. Like all these different things that I wanted to get better at, I chose to just go do those and not play summer ball. But I do have a great story from my time at Team USA. So we go to the trials in Cary, North Carolina. And I didn't expect to make the team, and I did make the team. I was kind of shocked. And so they gave us all of the new, Team USA branded backpacks and travel gear and suitcases and all this different stuff. So we looked like a team when we went overseas. And we were going to go play in Japan that year. And so I took all my stuff, the night before we're going to go overseas, I take all my stuff out of my backpack. I make sure it's all, find a new place for it in the new backpack. And I transfer my suitcase over and all this stuff. And I'm excited about it, and then there's the time change, so I'm trying to stay up, but then I was going to sleep for a couple hours, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and I was barely 18 years old, and yeah, so get to the airport the next morning, and the first thing they say when we're getting off the bus is make sure you have your passports with you, make sure you get them out. They reminded us like 20 different times to have our passports with us. And I knew that I had my passport in my backpack, and then that morning when they said make sure you have your passport with you, I realized that I had my passport in my old backpack and I didn't transfer it because it was in kind of like a hidden pocket and I forgot to transfer it. So that moment of panic went through me. I'm like, I'm going to miss the flight because I don't have my passport. And sure enough, I checked my backpack and no passport. And now I'm just feeling like the scum of the earth because I'm going to be the only guy that misses the flight and how dumb can I be and blah, blah, blah. Come to find out that my man, Brad Miller, did the exact same thing. So Brad and I actually stayed back in Boston because we were flying out from Boston, and we stayed back that night, and some people at USA Baseball scrambled around, and luckily our stuff hadn't been shipped back home yet, and it was still at the complex in North Carolina, and they were able to find our passports and rush them up to Boston and got them there that night. We caught the same flight that we were supposed to take the next morning and met up with the team in Japan. And yeah, every time I see Brad, we joke about it now. So don't forget your passports, kids. Make sure you have them. And now for some questions from my fans at trevorbauer.com. Alex Giobbi is wondering how excited I am to watch UCLA baseball this year. And I gotta tell you, Alex, I am pumped. Season didn't end too well last year for them. They had a great team, probably the best team in the nation in the regular season, 1 overall seed, and they lost in regionals. Tough way for it to end. Not fun as a fan watching, obviously way less fun for the players there, but it's a new year. We got a lot of good talent coming back. We got a lot of young talent, a lot of really exciting players, good hitters, good pitchers. Gonna have a powerhouse of a team this year. I'm pumped. Excited to be involved with the program. They got some really cool initiatives going on with some nutrition and some other training aspects for development that I'm involved with. And I know a couple of the kids on the team a little bit more personally. A couple of them trained at Jim Wagner's Throw Zone with my dad. So yeah, pumped to watch them, and go Bruins. David Alaba wants to know how the weather affects my pregame routine. And it doesn't really affect my pregame routine much at all. If it's cold, then I'll go out with a jacket and do my shoulder tube in a jacket, but I take it off when I go to long toss, and I'll just put it back on when I'm done long tossing in between my bullpen. That's about the only time that I'll make an adjustment. If it's raining and we get rain delayed is a big adjustment. That's the only time actually that's a big adjustment. And that adjustment is basically I get 40-ish minutes if I'm lucky from the time they decide what time the game's gonna restart or start to the time that it actually starts. And so my routine is hour and 40 minutes long. So I have to find a way to stay warm for enough, or stay warm enough during the time that it's the rain delay that I can kind of just rush right out. As soon as I hear the game's gonna start at X time, I have to rush out there and basically do my shoulder tube and start throwing. I get an abbreviated long toss session in. I get a little bit less of a break in between my long toss and my bullpen session. So that affects it a little bit, only if there's a rain delay. If it's raining and it's just drizzling, it doesn't really affect me at all. If it's cold, if it's hot, none of that affects it, only if the game gets delayed. Sean Hutchison wants to know, what has been my favorite pitch to figure out the mechanics of? Man, if I get my changeup figured out, that might be my favorite pitch because I've struggled with it for so long. But currently, right now, as it stands, my favorite pitch to figure out has been my slider, because I tried for 3 or 4 years just kind of sparingly. I would try this grip or try that grip and stuff like that, and it never really worked. I couldn't get the ball to move the way I wanted it to move, and then I applied the scientific process to it, and I got some high-speed film, and I said, okay, I'm really going to figure this thing out. What's the process? What's going on? I studied the film. I had help from some people studying the film. My dad did a lot of work studying the film, and we taught ourselves exactly why pitches come out of your hand the way they come out of your hand, and then how to manipulate that with the grip, with the supination or pronation of the forearm, and just different stuff like that. It was a really cool learning process, and we developed a process. What's the first thing we look at? How do we look at it? What things do we analyze? How do we analyze it? How do we test it? Iterate. Like we have this process down now that I can pretty much figure out whatever pitch that someone wants to throw. I can't figure out my changeup for whatever reason. That's the one thing that eludes me, but generally speaking, when I go to help someone else with a pitch, we can figure it out pretty quickly how to start manipulating the shape and the spin and stuff like that. And it's a process that I'm proud of having developed for myself and being able to share with other people. So currently speaking, slider. Luke Moss is curious what got me into baseball in the first place and says he hopes to play in MLB in the future. Well, Luke, good luck to you on that. I hope you play in MLB as well. Don't let anyone get in the way of your goals. Go after it and get it. And what got me into baseball? My parents did, kind of, in a roundabout way. I was in a crib, and then they put a bunch of toys in my crib when I was a baby, and there was like a soccer ball and some golf stuff and a football, and it's just kids' toys. And then there's what we lovingly refer to now as Fat Bat, and it was about, I don't know, maybe 15 inches long, just this small little wiffle ball bat with a big old barrel on it. And I just loved that for whatever reason. I always picked it up and like try to hit a ball. And at that point I couldn't even really like stand up or whatever. So I don't even know what I was doing with it. I don't remember. I'm sure my mom has pictures somewhere that hopefully never get out because they're embarrassing. But what are moms for if not for that? And yeah, so when I could walk, and I would go out in the front yard with my dad, and I had my little lawnmower, Sparky. I still remember Sparky, his little plastic lawnmower that didn't cut any grass, but he would be mowing the grass and I'd walk behind him with Sparky. And then after the grass was done being mowed, we would play baseball. And we had a couple little bags set up in the front yard. They couldn't have been more than, maybe 10, 15 feet away from each other. And he would toss me a wiffle ball and I would try to hit it over into our neighbor's yard. There's a little cinder block wall that separated the 2 yards, and it was maybe, at the max, 1.5 feet high. But if I ever could hit it over that, it was a home run, and he would chase me around the bases and try to tag me, and of course I'd always make it safely to home just before he tagged me. So yeah, that's what got me into baseball, fat bat. All right, that's a lot of your questions. I have a question for you. What are some things you'd like to see MLB players do more of to connect with you guys? Do you want to see more YouTube, more Twitter, more social media? Nothing at all? You don't want to see them do anything? You don't want anything to do with us? Let me know in the comments below. And as a reminder, these videos are only possible if you get involved. So if you like this video, tap the like button, share it with your friends, and encourage them to ask their questions as well. And if you'd like a shout out in a future video, go on over to trevorbauer.com, sign up for my email list, and submit your questions on the homepage. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for another Fan Friday.